What is going on? Today I'm going to be talking about 3 pros and 3 cons of living in Keene, New Hampshire, and why it might be a great place for you to live, or maybe it's not quite for you. I have been living in Keene personally for going on 5 years now, maybe actually a little bit longer than 5 years. I moved here in 2019, I believe, towards the summer, so a little bit over 5 years, and I came from a super small town in New Hampshire. Now, granted, there's no big cities technically in New Hampshire. Our biggest one's Manchester with a little over 100,000 people. Keene only has about 27,000, so I don't even know if it's technically a city, but it's a city in terms of New Hampshire. And when I moved to the city, it was kind of a big shift for me because, again, I moved from a small town. A lot of people say, oh, there was one red light in my small town. There was no street lights in my small town. We had just a street lamp, but no stop lights. And really the only thing in this town was one small general store. And other than that, there wasn't much going on. Like, my elementary school grade was, I think, around 11 kids. Very small class, very small town. So moving over here, it's a city. Homes are very close. I can see a lot just out my window. So that was something to get used to because I was always in a spot with a lot of acreage. So we're going to jump right into the pros and cons of living in Keene, New Hampshire. And just so you know, I'm going to be going back and forth from a pro to a con to a pro to a con to keep the video a little bit more interesting and so that you kind of have little things to bounce off while you're watching this video. And the first pro that we're going to be moving into in Keene, New Hampshire is the homes, the actual sales price of the houses, because you're in a city in Keene, New Hampshire, but yet you're not paying nearly as much money for a house compared to the rest of the state of New Hampshire. The average sales price for this year through through November, because the stats are a little bit backed up, are around $500,000 for the average sales price across the state. In Keene alone, through the year, it's been about $350,000. So you're going to be looking at a lower price point to get into it. And with this, you also have a better rental market if you're an investor, just so you know, because prices for real estate here are cheaper than, say, Manchester or Nashua or Concord, but you're going to get kind of the same amount for rent. You're going to be a few $100s cheaper, but not anywhere in the comparison of price to rent ratio. And of course, sales prices have been going up kind of everywhere in the last few years. So finding somewhere that you can still find houses around the $300,000 to $400,000 range for a single family is kind of hard to come by. So this is a good place to move if you're looking for kind of a little bit cheaper of a situation when moving to New Hampshire, or maybe you already live in New Hampshire, but you're wanting to move somewhere that's a little bit more cost effective. Now for the first con, speaking of cost effective, property taxes. That's the first con we have, and it's not necessarily just because of Keene, New Hampshire. It's just because we're in New Hampshire. New Hampshire has one of the highest property taxes rates across the country, and you might be saying, well, that seems a little extreme, but the reason being is because we have no state sales or state income tax. So New Hampshire still needs to make money. So they hit us really hard on the property tax aspect of real estate. So of course, you're going to have higher property taxes. Keene used to be one of the higher ones for property tax rates, but they're actually becoming more normal compared to the rest of New Hampshire. And it's not necessarily because Keene's lowering, even though they have lowered the tax rate a few times in the last couple of years, which is nice to see. But a lot of towns are seeing a lot of increases. There's been towns that, because I'm a real estate agent, so I know what's happening around the area, and there's been towns close by that have been going up by almost 25, if not over 25% in just their taxes year over year. And there's a lot of community groups on Facebook that are freaking out about that, and good reason too, because some people, if you own a nice piece of property and say it's $500,000-$600,000, your tax bill is most likely going to be anywhere from $9,000 to $13,000. So seeing a 25% increase in that number can be pretty staggering. So again, that is one thing you want to make sure you're planning for, because Of course, you're kind of shopping around to see what mortgage rates are and what your mortgage cost would be per month. But you have to take into account the property tax cost per month because it is substantially higher than other states. So if you're looking to relocate here, you might see that, and it's going to seem like a staggering number because if you're somewhere down south and you're paying $1,200 a year for property taxes and you move up here even to just like a $300,000 house, property taxes can still be anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 depending on how much land and where you are in the state. So it's something that you have to pay attention to and make sure you're taking that into account when you're looking at the affordability to move up here or buy a house up here. Number 2 for pros is going to be we are very close to amenities being in a city feel because, again, I came from a small town. So this is kind of from my perspective of pros and cons. And having amenities close is so nice because I used to have to drive practically 30 minutes plus to do or get anything I needed, whether that be groceries, going to the gym, going to a store to buy clothes, going to the mall, whatever it may have been. I was usually traveling 30 minutes to an hour to get there because I was kind of in the middle of nowhere. Not as bad as some people in New Hampshire, but I was out there in the backwoods of the country, so you had to travel to get places. Now that I'm in downtown Keene, I have everything I need within a 10-minute drive at the most. My gym's about 5 to 8 minutes away, depending which one I go to on that day because I like going to the gym. So I have 2 gym memberships, and depending which one I go, one's a little bit further. But it's so nice having things close. And again, having this, you have a few gyms that you can pick from. There's Planet Fitness, there's Real Steel, there's the YMCA, there's a few other ones that are more niche ones like a climbing gym, CrossFit gym, those type of things. Then you also have, of course, all the stores around. You have all the big box stores you need like Home Depot, Walmart, Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Staples, whatever it may be. Then you have all the actual shops, local businesses on Main Street that you can always shop in for clothes or gifts or anything you need. And then, of course, you also have the restaurants all down Main Street, around Main Street. There's tons of restaurants. There's some chain restaurants. So there's a little bit of everything for whatever you're looking for. And then we also have like parks and stuff to go do. So you have like behind my house, like 2 streets up, there's a little playground and a pool to swim in the summer. Then there's another one across town in what's called West Keene. There's another park over there, which also has a town pool. It has volleyball courts. It has baseball fields, softball fields, a dog park that they actually just opened this year. I think this summer, if I remember correctly. They also have a small little disc golf course over there. And then just about a 10-minute drive from where I am, so about 5 minutes outside of Keene, there's another big disc golf course. The first one's only a 9-hole one that's in Keene, and then the one just outside at Otterbrook is an 18-hole one. So there is a bunch of stuff to do around Keene, and it's nice having everything close. Now to move into another con number 2 is that it is a college town. So you have Keene State College, which is the bigger college. There's Antioch College, but Keene State's like the big one. And it's not necessarily a con in the sense of it's like super annoying to have college kids in town. I mean, of course, if you live close to college, you're going to be hearing some parties and all that stuff. But it's more that everything picks up once the college kids come back. So summers are like super nice and relaxing, it almost feels like, because there's not nearly as much traffic. There's not nearly as much people in the gyms or the stores or the bars. But then once college comes back, of course, you're adding a few thousand people to the population. So some of the gyms will get more packed. The bars will be more packed. It's good for local business and all that thing. But being as they call it, a townie, it can be a little bit frustrating to see so many people come back in after summer ends. So that is one little bit of a negative. Of course, again, if you're more living close to the college, it's going to affect you a little bit more. So definitely want to be aware of that. If you're looking at a home search, make sure you have a realtor that's going to keep it real with you and be like, hey, just so you know, if you move to this part, you're going to be hearing some things. And then pro number 3 is kind of the walkability. And this one is also a little bit tying into amenities, but I like it because Keene is very walkable. Not only do you have the really nice picturesque downtown feel, because it really is a super cute little downtown. It's awesome to go down there, whether it be summer, winter, and it just snowed and it looks awesome, and there's the Christmas tree downtown. But it's a really nice town just to walk down, grab some coffee, go into a few shops, maybe grab a bite to eat. And then you also have things that are close to downtown that you can still walk to, like a basketball court, a new skate park that they just opened like 2 months ago, a couple playgrounds for the kids. All that good stuff is in walking distance. And then there's also the rail trail, which connects a few towns around the area, but it's just an old rail trail that spans for about 33 miles, and people love to either walk on it, run on it, bike on it, whatever, walk their dogs, whatever it may be. But it's a really nice little trail system that goes through, and just a nice thing to be able to have in your town and a good designated spot to walk. And then for con number 3 is a little bit, this one is a little bit of a reach, but this one's more personal to me, and it's the food downtown. So there are great restaurants downtown. Do not get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's bad. There's good food, but it's just not like, there's not a ton of different types of food. So you have a lot of the same stuff, or certain things I just necessarily don't like. So I still travel when I go out to eat and stuff. If I'm doing like a date night or something with my girlfriend, we'll go and travel somewhere to get somewhere special. But maybe that's just because I live in this town and sometimes I don't want to eat at the restaurants here. So again, this one's a little bit more personal to me, and the foods, I just wish there's more options is what I wish. I just wish there's a few more places, and there are some restaurants that are supposedly supposed to be opening up. Like we're supposed to be getting a new hibachi and sushi place. I heard possibly a new ramen place. So there are businesses coming, and it's always exciting when those open, but I just feel like there could be a better diversity of food downtown or around Keene. So those are kind of my 3 pros and my 3 cons of living in Keene, New Hampshire. This video is pretty short. I just wanted to go over some things that, if you're not necessarily familiar with Keene and it's a spot that you're looking to move to, these are just some things from a local that can be nice and can be annoying. And there's really like, one I didn't throw in here is there's a really good community feel in Keene. Like there's a lot of course, different volunteer communities and charitable organizations. Like I'm on the Keene Young Professionals Network board, and basically all we do is just set up events and stuff for young people to be able to have a place to meet and kind of find people that are their age and maybe can spark a friendship, because especially during COVID, a lot of people stopped going outside and actually being personable and trying to create new friendships. So we're trying to bring that back, but there's a ton of different ones, and there's a lot of community feel in the town, but maybe that's also because we're in New Hampshire and it's kind of a small town feel. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like kind of curious about with Keene, New Hampshire, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I'm always taking suggestions for things you guys want to see, because that's why I'm making these videos, is for people looking to move to New Hampshire and want to buy a house or is interested in real estate, kind of seeing what's up. So if you want to leave those in the comments below, that would be great. I'll respond to it and hopefully do a video on it. And if this video did add any value, or if you liked it, I'd appreciate a like on the video and hitting that subscribe button so you guys can catch me next week when I release another one. So with that said, I will catch you guys next week.